On a calm August morning in 8, the facade of a happy family life was shattered in a way that would horrify the nation. The small town of Frederick, Colorado, known for its peaceful streets and tight-knit community, woke up to a tragedy no one could have anticipated. At the center of this storm were Chris and Shannan Watts, a couple whose seemingly perfect life was about to unravel in the most shocking way. Chris Watts, a 33-year-old oil field operator, was seen by many as the quintessential family man. With his quiet demeanor and steady job, he appeared to be a devoted husband and father. His wife, Shannan, was a vibrant 34-year-old known for her dynamic personality, relentless optimism, and active social media presence where she shared snippets of her family's life, portraying a picture of domestic bliss. Their love story began in 2010 when Chris and Shannan met and quickly fell for each other. They married in 2012 and soon welcomed two beautiful daughters, Bella and Celeste. To their friends and family, they seemed to have it all: a lovely home, adorable children, and a loving relationship. Shannan's social media posts were filled with images of family outings, birthdays, and holidays, underscored by her enthusiastic captions about how blessed she felt. However, behind the curated images and cheerful posts, cracks were forming in the Watts marriage. Shannan's entrepreneurial spirit kept her busy as she worked from home, managing her business and raising their children. Chris, more reserved, often found solace in his routine and work. Despite their outward appearances, the pressures of life, financial strains, and growing emotional distance were silently eroding their relationship. Chris Watts grew up in a modest household in Spring Lake, North Carolina. Known for his quiet and reserved nature, he was a stark contrast to his outgoing and energetic wife, Shannan. Friends and family described Chris as a man of few words, someone who preferred to keep his emotions tightly controlled. He worked diligently as an oil field operator, a job that provided stability, but demanded long hours and physical endurance. Chris's relationship with Shannan began in 2010, and it wasn't long before they were deeply in love. Chris admired Shannan's strength and resilience, especially considering her health struggles with lupus, a chronic autoimmune disease. Their wedding in 2012 marked the beginning of a new chapter, filled with hope and dreams for the future. They moved to Frederick, Colorado, seeking a fresh start in a picturesque suburban community. In the early years of their marriage, Chris seemed to embody the role of the supportive husband. He stood by Shannan during her health challenges and celebrated the births of their daughters, Bella in 2013 and Celeste in 2015. Chris's dedication to his family was apparent, as he worked hard to provide a comfortable life for them. However, beneath his calm exterior, Chris increasingly felt the weight of his responsibilities and the growing distance between him and Shannan. Shannan Watts was a force of nature. Born and raised in Aberdeen, North Carolina, she was known for her vibrant personality and relentless optimism. Despite her struggles with lupus, Shannan exuded a positive energy that drew people to her. She worked as a promoter for a multi-level marketing company, Thrive, which allowed her to work from home and share her passion for health and wellness. Shannan's social media presence was a testament to her dedication to her family and her business. Her posts showcased a loving mother and wife, always involved in her children's lives and committed to building a successful career. Friends and followers admired her for her resilience and the seemingly perfect life she portrayed online. Behind the scenes, Shannan's life was far more complicated. Her health issues required constant management, and the demands of her business added to her stress. She was the primary caregiver for Bella and Celeste, juggling her professional aspirations with the challenges of motherhood. Despite these pressures, Shannan remained hopeful, believing that she and Chris could overcome any obstacles together. As the years went by, the Watts marriage began to show signs of strain. The pressures of raising two young children, managing financial difficulties, and dealing with Shannan's health issues took a toll on their relationship. Chris's long hours at work and Shannan's travel for her business meant they spent less time together, further widening the emotional gap between them. Shannan confided in her close friends about her concerns. She worried about Chris's increasing detachment and their lack of intimacy. Text messages revealed her efforts to reconnect with him, from planning romantic getaways to seeking counseling. Despite her best efforts, Chris remained distant, his affections seemingly redirected elsewhere. Unbeknownst to Shannan, Chris had begun an affair with Nicole Kessinger, a co-worker he met at Anadarko Petroleum. Their relationship started as a casual friendship, but quickly evolved into a passionate affair. Nicole was unaware of the depth of Chris's marital issues, believing his claims that he was in the process of separating from Shannan. The affair provided Chris with an escape from his perceived burdens at home. With Nickel, he found excitement and a sense of freedom that contrasted sharply with his life with Shannan. As his relationship with Nickel deepened, Chris's emotional and physical detachment from his family grew more pronounced. Chris's dual life became increasingly difficult to maintain. Shannan's suspicions were aroused by his secretive behavior and the changes in his demeanor. She confronted him multiple times, but Chris's reassurances did little to alleviate her fears. The tension between them reached a boiling point as Shannan became more desperate to save their marriage, while Chris found himself more entangled in his affair. The trip to North Carolina was meant to be a chance for the family to reconnect, but it only served to highlight the growing divide between Chris and Shannan. During the trip, Shannan continued to post positive updates on social media, but behind the scenes she was increasingly concerned about Chris's cold demeanor. Chris, meanwhile, was using the time to deepen his connection with Nickel. He sent her pictures from the trip and kept in constant contact, further driving a wedge between him and Shannan. The distance between the couple was palpable, and Shannan's attempts to salvage their relationship seemed futile. When Shannan and the children returned to Colorado, she was more determined than ever to address the issues in her marriage. She confronted Chris, demanding to know the truth about his feelings and their future. Shannan's texts to friends revealed her heartbreak and confusion over Chris's lack of commitment to their family. Chris, feeling cornered and unable to reconcile his desire for a new life with the reality of his current one, responded with vague promises and half-truths. He assured Shannan that they would work things out, but his actions told a different story. The emotional distance between them continued to grow, setting the stage for a confrontation that would change their lives forever. On August 13, 2018, Shannan Watts returned home from a business trip in the early hours of the morning. Exhausted but hopeful, she texted Chris to let him know she had arrived safely and then went to bed. Unbeknownst to Shannan, this would be the last morning she would ever see her children alive. Later that day, Shannan's friend, Nicole Atkinson, who had dropped her off at home and noticed her absence from an important doctor's appointment, became worried when she couldn't reach her. Shannan, who was 15 weeks pregnant, was always punctual and communicative. Nicole's concern grew as the hours passed with no word from Shannan. She decided to go to the Watts residence to check on her friend. Finding the house locked and Shannan's car still in the driveway, Nicole's worry intensified. She contacted Chris, who was at work, and then called the police to report Shannan and her two daughters, Bella and Celeste, missing. The police arrived shortly thereafter, initiating a welfare check. The police found no immediate signs of struggle or forced entry in the Watts home. Chris arrived shortly after the police and allowed them to search the house. Inside, they found Shannan's purse, phone, and keys, along with the children's medication, all left behind, something Shannan would never do voluntarily. The eerie calmness of the house contrasted sharply with the growing alarm among friends and family. Chris's demeanor during these early hours was noted by investigators and neighbors as strangely calm and detached. He gave a television interview pleading for his family's safe return, but his behavior raised suspicions. His responses seemed rehearsed, lacking the raw emotion expected from a grieving husband and father. The investigation quickly intensified. Detectives conducted a thorough search of the Watts home, and Chris was brought in for questioning. During his interview, Chris failed a polygraph test, and his story began to unravel under the pressure of skilled interrogators. Detectives played on Chris's emotional state, gradually breaking down his defenses. It was during this intense questioning that Chris confessed to the murders, but in a twisted version of events. He claimed that he had killed Shannan in a fit of rage after seeing her strangle their daughters. This attempt to shift blame did not hold up under scrutiny. Following his confession, Chris led investigators to the oil field where he worked, and where the bodies of Shannan, Bella, and Celeste were found. Body was discovered in a shallow grave, and the bodies of Bella and Celeste were found in oil tanks. The gruesome discovery confirmed the worst fears of the community and shattered any remaining illusions about Chris's innocence. As the details of the case emerged, so did the motives behind Chris's horrific actions. The affair with Nickel Kessinger was a significant factor. Chris had envisioned a future with Nickel, free from the responsibilities and pressures of his current life. The idea of starting anew without Shannan and the children became an obsession, leading him down a dark path. Financial pressures also played a role. The Watts family was struggling with debt, and the stress of maintaining their lifestyle added to the already strained marriage. Chris saw no way out of his situation without drastic measures. The case of Chris and Shannan Watts is deeply rooted in themes of betrayal and deception. On the surface, the Watts family appeared to be the epitome of suburban perfection. Shannon's social media posts showcased a loving, close-knit family enjoying a prosperous and happy life. However, this carefully curated image masked a reality filled with lies and infidelity. Chris's affair with Nicole Kessinger was a profound betrayal of his marriage vows and his family's trust. The secrecy and deceit involved in maintaining the affair added layers of complexity to the emotional turmoil within the Watts household. Chris's duplicity not only betrayed Shannon, but also disrupted the lives of their daughters, Bella and Celeste, who were caught in the crossfire of their parents' crumbling relationship. Shannon, dedicated to saving her marriage, was blindsided by Chris's actions. Her relentless efforts to communicate, to plan romantic getaways, and to seek counseling all reflected her desperation to hold her family together. Yet she was unaware of the extent of Chris's deception, making the ultimate betrayal even more devastating. The dichotomy between appearances and reality is a central theme in the Watts case. Shannon's social media presence painted a picture of a perfect family life. Friends and followers admired her for her strength, resilience, and seemingly enviable relationship with Chris. However, this online persona was at odds with the true state of their marriage. Shannon's posts, filled with positivity and love, masked the growing distance between her and Chris. The disparity between their public image and private struggles underscores how easily reality can be distorted by curated online personas. This theme resonates widely in an era where social media often projects an idealized version of life, hiding underlying issues and struggles. Understanding the psychological aspects of the case is crucial in grasping the motivations and actions of Chris Watts. Experts in psychology provide insights into the mindset of family annihilators, a rare but particularly disturbing type of criminal. Chris's actions fit a pattern seen in other cases of family annihilation, where an individual destroys their family due to perceived pressures or a desire to escape their current life. Psychologists suggest that Chris may have experienced a form of cognitive dissonance, where the conflict between his affair and his role as a family man became unbearable. This internal conflict, combined with financial stress and the fantasy of a new life with Nicole, likely contributed to his drastic decision to murder his family. The phenomenon of family annihilation often involves a mix of narcissism, a need for control, and an inability to cope with perceived failure. Chris's meticulous planning and execution of the murders indicate a calculated attempt to erase his current life and start anew, highlighting a deeply troubling psychological state. The financial pressures faced by the Watts family played a significant role in the unfolding tragedy. Despite the outward appearance of a comfortable suburban life, the family was grappling with considerable debt. Chris's job in the oil industry, while stable, did not suffice to cover their expenses, and Shannon's business, although promising, added to their financial strain. Financial stress is a common trigger in cases of domestic violence and family annihilation. The pressure to maintain a certain lifestyle, combined with mounting debt, can create a sense of desperation and hopelessness. For Chris, the financial burden may have amplified his sense of entrapment and contributed to his catastrophic decision to eliminate his family. Infidelity, a central element in this case, had profound psychological and emotional impacts on all parties involved. Chris's affair with Nicole Kessinger provided him with a sense of escape and excitement, starkly contrasting with the perceived monotony and stress of his family life. Nicole, unaware of the true state of Chris's marriage, found herself entangled in a web of lies and deceit. For Shannon, the discovery of Chris's infidelity, coupled with his emotional detachment, was devastating. Her text messages and conversations with friends reveal a woman desperately trying to salvage her marriage while grappling with the pain of betrayal. The emotional toll of Chris's affair compounded the existing stressors in their marriage, pushing the relationship to its breaking point. The interplay of these themes, betrayal, deception, psychological turmoil, financial stress, and infidelity, culminated in the tragic events of August 13, 2018. The Watts family annihilation serves as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences that can arise from a combination of personal and relational failures. As the case garnered national attention, It sparked widespread discussions about the hidden pressures within seemingly perfect families and the importance of addressing mental health and relationship issues before they escalate into violence. The chilling details of the Watts family tragedy continue to resonate, highlighting the need for vigilance and support in addressing the underlying issues that can lead to such catastrophic outcomes. The news of the murders of Shannan, Bella, and Celeste Watts sent shockwaves through the small town of Frederick, Colorado, and beyond. The tight-knit community, known for its peaceful suburban charm, was thrust into the national spotlight as details of the case emerged. The brutal nature of the crime, coupled with the betrayal of a seemingly perfect family, left residents in a state of disbelief and sorrow. Vigils were held to honor the memory of Shannan and her daughters. Friends, neighbors, and even strangers gathered to pay their respects, leaving flowers, candles, and stuffed animals at makeshift memorials. The community's grief was palpable, as was their anger towards Chris Watts, who had shattered the illusion of safety and trust within their midst. The legal proceedings against Chris Watts moved swiftly. Facing overwhelming evidence and a potential death penalty, Chris opted to plead guilty to all charges. This decision was likely influenced by a desire to avoid further anguish for Shannan's family and to escape the possibility of a death sentence. The courtroom was filled with emotional testimonies, particularly from Shannan's family, who spoke of their profound grief and the enduring impact of Chris's actions. Shannan's father, Frank Rauchek, and brother, Frankie Rauchek, delivered heart-wrenching statements, expressing their devastation and the unfillable void left by the loss of Shannan and her daughters. On November 19, 2018, Chris Watts was sentenced to 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole, 3 to be served consecutively and 2 concurrently, for the murders of Shannan, Bella, and Celeste. He also received additional sentences for the unlawful termination of Shannan's pregnancy and tampering with the bodies. As he was led away in handcuffs, there was a sense of justice being served, though it could never fully heal the wounds inflicted by his heinous acts. The impact of the Watts family murders reverberated throughout the community of Frederick. The town, once a symbol of suburban tranquility, was now associated with one of the most chilling family annihilations in recent history. Residents grappled with the reality that such violence could occur in their midst, leading to a heightened sense of vigilance and a reevaluation of the perceived safety of their neighborhood. Counseling services and support groups were established to help the community cope with the trauma. Schools attended by Bella and Celeste provided grief counseling for students and staff, addressing the emotional toll on those who knew the girls personally. The community's response highlighted the importance of solidarity and mutual support in the face of tragedy. The case attracted extensive media coverage, with news outlets across the country providing in-depth reports and analysis. The gruesome details and the psychological complexity of the case captivated the public, leading to widespread discussion about family violence, mental health, and the hidden pressures within seemingly perfect lives. Television networks aired documentaries and special reports, delving into the background of the Watts family and the events leading up to the murders. Social media platforms were abuzz with discussions, theories, and expressions of grief and outrage. The case also sparked debates about the role of social media in shaping public perceptions and the potential disconnect between online personas and real-life struggles. In the wake of the tragedy, Shannan's family and friends worked tirelessly to preserve her legacy and the memory of her daughters. They established foundations and charitable initiatives in Shannan's name, focusing on issues such as domestic violence prevention, support for families affected by similar tragedies, and awareness of lupus, the chronic illness Shannan battled throughout her life. The Rzucek family became vocal advocates for victims of domestic violence, sharing their story to educate others and prevent similar tragedies. Their efforts aimed to transform their personal grief into a force for positive change, ensuring that Shannan, Bella, and Celeste would be remembered not just for how they died, but for the love and joy they brought to those who knew them. The Watts family murders left a lasting impact on Frederick and the nation. The case underscored the importance of recognizing and addressing signs of domestic unrest and mental health issues. It also highlighted the need for effective intervention and support mechanisms for families in crisis. The story of Chris and Shannan Watts serves as a somber reminder of the potential darkness that can lurk behind closed doors and the catastrophic consequences of unchecked emotional and psychological turmoil. As the community of Frederick continues to heal, The memory of Shannan, Bella, and Celeste remains a poignant testament to the fragility of human life and the enduring need for compassion, understanding, and vigilance in safeguarding our loved ones. Understanding the psychological factors that led Chris Watts to commit such a heinous crime requires an examination of his mental state and the dynamics within the Watts family. Experts in psychology have analyzed Chris's behavior, offering insights into his motivations and the psychological mechanisms that might have driven him to such extreme actions. One of the key psychological concepts relevant to this case is cognitive dissonance, which occurs when a person experiences discomfort due to holding conflicting beliefs or values. Chris Watts was living a double life. On one hand, he was the devoted husband and father, while on the other, he was engaged in an affair and fantasizing about a new life without his family. This internal conflict likely created immense psychological stress. Chris's behavior also exhibited traits of narcissism. Individuals with narcissistic tendencies often have an inflated sense of self-importance and a need for admiration, which can lead them to make selfish and harmful decisions. Chris's affair with Nicole Kessinger provided him with validation and excitement, which he felt was lacking in his family life. His desire to maintain this new relationship at any cost, even the lives of his wife and children, reflects a deeply narcissistic mindset. Financial stress was another significant factor in the Watts case. The family was facing considerable debt, which added to the tension in Chris and Shannan's marriage. The pressure to maintain their lifestyle and the fear of financial ruin may have contributed to Chris's sense of entrapment and hopelessness. Financial difficulties are a common trigger in cases of domestic violence and family annihilation. The stress associated with economic instability can exacerbate underlying emotional and psychological issues, leading individuals to view drastic measures as the only way out of their predicament. Family annihilators, like Chris Watts, often share certain characteristics. These individuals typically view their family as an extension of themselves and see their actions as a means of reclaiming control over their lives. In many cases, the perpetrator believes that eliminating their family is a solution to their problems, providing a way to escape the perceived burdens and start anew. Experts have identified different types of family annihilators, including those motivated by revenge, altruism, or a desire to save face. Chris's actions appear to align with the self-righteous type, where the perpetrator feels justified in their actions as a means of solving their problems and creating a new life. The legal proceedings in the Watts case were swift and decisive, reflecting the severity of Chris's actions and the overwhelming evidence against him. The legal aspects of the case provide insights into how the justice system handles such extreme acts of violence. The police investigation into the disappearance of Shannan and her daughters was thorough and methodical. Detectives quickly identified inconsistencies in Chris's statements and used psychological tactics to break down his defenses. The failed polygraph test was a turning point, leading to Chris's eventual confession. Interrogation techniques played a crucial role in obtaining a confession. Investigators used a combination of empathy, pressure, and strategic questioning to elicit the truth. This approach highlights the importance of skilled interrogation in resolving complex criminal cases. Faced with the prospect of the death penalty and overwhelming evidence, Chris Watts accepted a plea deal, pleading guilty to all charges in exchange for life sentences without the possibility of parole. This plea deal spared Shannan's family the ordeal of a prolonged trial and the potential for a death sentence, which they opposed. The sentencing of Chris Watts to multiple life sentences underscores the gravity of his crimes and serves as a measure of justice for the victims. The legal system's handling of the case demonstrates a balance between delivering justice and respecting the wishes of the victim's family. The Watts family annihilation case has broader implications for society, particularly in the areas of mental health, domestic violence, and the role of social media. It underscores the need for greater awareness and intervention strategies to address the signs of domestic unrest and prevent similar tragedies. The case highlights the importance of mental health awareness and the need for accessible mental health services. Early intervention and support can help individuals struggling with psychological issues, potentially preventing violent outcomes. Domestic violence is a pervasive issue that often goes unnoticed until it escalates to extreme levels. The Watts case emphasizes the need for vigilance and proactive measures to identify and support at-risk individuals and families. The contrast between Shannan's social media presence and the reality of her family's situation illustrates the potential disconnect between online personas and real-life struggles. This case serves as a reminder that social media can often mask deeper issues and that appearances can be deceiving. The chilling case of Chris and Shannan Watts is a tragic example of the devastating consequences that can arise from a combination of personal and relational failures. It serves as a stark reminder of the importance of addressing mental health issues, financial stress, and the hidden pressures within families. The legacy of Shannan, Bella, and Celeste Watts continues to resonate, prompting reflections on human nature, family dynamics, and the need for compassion and vigilance in safeguarding our loved ones. As the community of Frederick, Colorado, and the nation at large continue to grapple with the impact of this tragedy, the story of the Watts family annihilation remains a poignant and cautionary tale, urging us to look beyond appearances and to seek help and support in times of crisis.